Flowspec. So I give you the floor.
Thank you. So yeah, BGP Flowspec. I did this talk a couple of weeks ago. So some of you might have heard parts of it, but there's some parts that is new. I represent Comhem, as it was said, and we do normal IT stuff in Sweden. We are one of the largest ISPs in Sweden. We do primarily eyeball. We don't have that much customer networks. And we are a big DOCSIS provider. That is, the first picture is our previous network, or how we did peering before, and the below one is right now, or a couple of weeks ago. So we have a split talk. It is one part is what a problem that we did fix, and one is that we have a proposition how to fix. And we're going to start with the one that we did fix. So we did, the problem we did, we did BGP Flowspec for our internal DDoS mitigation to limit the amount of traffic that goes into our bot DDoS mitigation. So yeah, this is going to be a bit hard. So we had, continue, and I'll go over them instead. Nope. So we set up some ground rules when we started developing the system, since it's built in-house. We said it has to be non-intrusive, so it should not affect the bot DDoS mitigation in any kind. So if something happens to this system, it should never take down the purchased one. It should be static rule sets, so we don't do any magic stuff with the current, what the mitigation actually finds, or the, and in general, don't do smart things, don't add any work to our group, so there's no manual intervention when this happens. Yep. So we went down and looked at what should we do, and how, what can do BGP Flowspec. We looked at XBGP, and they have some problems with, they don't support Flowspec at that point. Same thing with Bird and Quagga. But then we found GoBGP. Yeah, it's based on Go, just continue because it's, yeah. It is Golang, so it basically compiles you into one binary, so you don't have dependency problems on the actual deployed system. It is very much in the forefront of the RFC development or implementation of RFCs. So we have large communities, we have BGP Flowspec, whatever you want to implement, you can do, and it's very actively maintained. It is developed as a library and not a static binary blob that will just give you the solution for everything. You can actually implement your own ideas of BGP and listen to BGP updates, do stuff like we're doing. Continue, is one more. One more. There we go. We have a multi-core architecture because that is how Go is developed. Same thing is the library is built with the Go mindset and not like a Python conversion or something. So it actually does multi-core. And it has amazing documentation. The developer, who is based in Japan, adds, for every single feature he adds, he actually adds an example and documentation to everything. So yeah, continue, it's going to be a scroll list. Thank you. So we know what software, but how should it actually work? Our DDoS vendor does not have an API, or did have a, but it's an XML-based one. And I don't like XML. I don't like writing XML for Go, because that means a lot of time just doing structured building around XML files. SSH Telnet, you can log into the box, you can pull out the current mitigations and do your deployment, but that's notoriously unstable because you're always dependent on that the CLI never changes, and if it does, you have to actually implement something new. So we found out, hey, how is the mitigation working at this point? It is using BGP to off-ramp a prefix to the mitigation box. So we decided to use that instead. Yep. So I got some criteria from my boss. It had to be done in 4 months. I was a sole developer, and it has to be tested in the lab. The result of this was 1,100 lines of code and 0% test coverage because I didn't have time to write tests in that way. So this is how it will work and how we built it around. So yeah, continue next. Back. So if you go back one more. So this is how it works in general. When a DDoS comes in, it will go to the peering router. It will send NetFlow data to the analyzer. The analyzer, if a DDoS is detected, next, the DDoS mitigation system will announce a BGP off-ramp to the route reflector, which is then sent to peering, which is sent over to the mitigation box. Next. There we go. So what we do instead is we listen for the same update as for the off-ramp, and we send that, and the Flowspec machine listens to it. And so when it sees a BGP off-ramp, it will send out BGP Flowspecs to that prefix that is being off-ramped. So we're blocking setting, if the destination is for this prefix, we will drop it in the routers instead. So we had to test this in some way, as the criteria was. We thought, how hard can it be? What happens to, like, we had some examples, like what happens to NetFlow data in our ASR9 case when you use Flowspec? Will it be dropped? Will it be sent on? What happens? Cisco didn't tell us. What happens when you put on 100 gigs of dirty traffic on the line card with Flowspec rules on it? Will it melt? Will everything work? Cisco didn't know it either, because Flowspec at this point was really, really young from Cisco's point of view. Yep. So we had to like build this in some way. So we took it to our lab. We thought, let's do the Ixia solution that we have. They do not allow you to generate 100 gigs of DDoS traffic without a special license that costs you a fortune. So we actually went to Fredrik Korsbäck Hugge at Nordnet and borrowed one little pizza box that could generate this from 1U. But interconnecting that box with a QSFP28 to our ASR9K that does not have QSFP was quite an interesting setup, as you can see. So this is the actual DDoS when the lab test that we did. Like just give you an example of how many cores that box actually has, and it's 1U. And we did generate 80 gigs of traffic into it because we had 80 gigs, 88 times 10 ports available in our lab. But this is actually real stats from when we were actually receiving DDoS attacks in our network. So we got 2 attacks roughly in the same day. Both of them are around 6 gigs. And the below graph is showing how much our bot DDoS mitigation system is actually handling. This is real data. And next. And here is the stats of the traffic incoming to our mitigation system at when we started deploying it. You can guess which month, right? So it was around March. It just dropped off. And the saving that we're doing is actually 99.928% of the traffic is handled by the routers instead of the mitigation platform. So what is the mitigation platform doing at the moment? It's not blowing air and looking cool. It does do TCP. No, back. It does do TCP. We only drop UDP in our rule sets because the Flowspec is a very blunt tool to handle this. So it basically just does TCP, UDP. Yep. And for our sake, we have not done a license upgrade, and we have no plans on doing upgrades either. According to the vendors, they're saying, oh, they're going to change the patterns. They're not going to do like small UDP attacks. They're going to do more TCP-based attacks and more specific vectors. But time will tell, and if we have to upgrade then, we have to upgrade it. But it saved us a year for now. Yeah, and BGP Flowspec is awesome. It is a bit time-consuming to set up and get your head around it, but if you think about it, it's just ACLs pushed by signaled by BGP. It's quite simple. So we have a problem that we want to solve because we are an ISP, we're an eyeball. We don't want to have our incoming traffic blocked by DDoS traffic. So we want to do intra-AS BGP Flowspec. And I think a lot of people here in the room has been interested in doing it, but there is some security concerns about it. So there is the security issues with BGP Flowspec with intra-AS is VRF leaking, next-hop manipulation, large announcements, and many more. So our solution, the solution for this is filtering, but there's no support in either Cisco, Juniper, or Arista to actually do filtering on what you're actually doing with the Flowspec. You can ignore Flowspec, you can do prefix limitations, but you cannot do like, I will not allow you to do route target redirects or VRF leaking, or next-hop manipulation. So we have to build some kind of middleware that we can run this on, and this is our proposition. So we will build, based on GoBGP, a route server, but it's only for Flowspec. And each AS is going to be allowed to do their own configuration of what they want to receive. So if you only want to receive, for example, drop statements or only rate limit statements, you can do that for your AS, but another AS can get the full announcement. We will not propagate route target redirects or neck top changes, because that is not what inter-AS should be doing. We also will do prefix validation. So if you're saying that I want to drop traffic for this prefix, you have to own that prefix. It should not be like, I can go and say that, hey, I want to drop this guy's prefix and everyone else's routers. And we can host this, since it's just a GoBGP, it's hosted on x86. You can just run it on an IX, or you can run it in-house. So this is the idea that we had for how it should work. So AS1001 wants to drop traffic for a 20/26. It will announce that to the Flowspec route server. And based on that, yeah, click all of them and I'll go over them. Yeah. So each AS has set up their own rules on what they want to do. So AS1002, they have their own route server to handle, so they will just accept anything from the IX Flowspec route server. But they will, in their end, control what they're announcing to their actual routers. AS1003, so just ignores it because it's a bit too large prefix. AS1004 wants to rate limit the same prefix instead of dropping it. They can manipulate it. And AS1005 says, I'll just drop it. And that's it. Questions?
Hi, Hugge Nordernet, and also chairman of Swedish ISP Association. So I think the last talk here is really good, and I think this is something we need to do together. And I would like to see almost all the Swedish ISPs work on this together. I don't think anyone is actually sure how we do this, so I would suggest that if anyone is smart enough to have something, how we do this is one version, this is probably not perfect. We need to refine this, and I think we need to do it. If you ever read the news, like lately, last week, I think we have some work to do there with a lot of governmental institutions, a lot of other stuff being DDoSed. So if we can do something together, I think that would be great. And if you're not a part of SOF or the Swedish Operator Forum, that's probably where the work is going to be done, I would assume. Because if we don't do it, someone is going to do it for us, and that's probably not something we would like. Also, thank you, Emil.
Any more questions for Emil? No? Okay, thank you.